Hello everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome back to another video. So today I just want to talk about Crusader Blade, which is a mod for Crusader Kings 3 and Mountain Blade Bannerlord 2. If you haven't checked it out, I will put a link to the page in the description. I'm trying to remember what it's on now. Is it ModDB? I don't know. Anyway, wherever it is, they'll have a link where you can download it. And they also have a Patreon as well, which is like nearly £5, I think, to get the latest stable release, which is actually pretty good if you're going to be doing it anyway, and it sort of allows you to help support me for something that you're interested in. So I played it now through for a whole stream. I think it was 19 episodes, so like I guess roughly 2 hours per episode. So, or just over, I suppose. Anyway, round ups. Let's say it was about 40 hours that I spent roughly with Crusader Blade playing through a whole campaign, pretty much, on Crusader Kings 3. To start off with, really enjoyed the concept of it. I thought it was actually, really neat and solid. I haven't really seen anything like that before. I guess the only thing I sort of could akin it to was I can't remember what FIFA it was, but FIFA and FIFA Manager back on the PlayStation 2. You could save your managerial game, boot it up in FIFA, play the game in FIFA, come back and have the result and the goals and everything else in your management game. Now, that was a very long and painful process, and that was something that was baked in as well, of course, by EA Sports. And we've got this mod here which basically talks with both games. So what it will do is it will take the stats of your character in Crusader Kings 3, and it will then import that into a custom battle into Mountain Blade 2, and it will take whatever the result of that battle is back into Crusader Kings 3. Now, it's not perfect. Had many crashes. Version incompatibilities, for example, is one of the potential issues. There wasn't any sort of siege battle mechanics when I first started. It allows you to sort of game the system as well sometimes, if you're lucky, in Crusader Kings 3. You can start a battle early before reinforcements get in and then fight the reinforcements, because it gives you obviously an instant result rather than having to fight out the battle. So that side of things is pretty interesting, although you never really know what kind of troops you're going to get. So even if you invest heavy in men-at-arms, you may still end up with only 20 or 30 archers, depending on how many levies and stuff you've got. So I feel like sometimes it wasn't quite balanced or weighted enough towards men-at-arms. That's probably the one thing that I would like to see going forward. So it sort of gives that advantage to armies that have men-at-arms. Of course, you don't want to be strolling up with just, maybe 500, maybe like heavy footmen against like 3,000 levies on the other side and being able to go. I don't know. Actually, that'd probably work, but you know what I mean. The balance needs to be right. At the minute, it's too heavily skewed in terms of levies, because of course the max you can have on Bannerlord 2 is 1,000 troops. So 500 on either side if it is balanced. There's no reinforcements that come in, and your character strength is based on your commander strength, which is something I wish I'd known from the start, because you become very squishy on the battlefield, which I have experienced a couple of times, and you can, if you're even slightly reckless, you can be taken out fairly easy. Also, the AI is seemingly a little bit dumbed down. They will go very defensive. They will turtle heavily. I'm thinking, all these, obviously, this mass blob of levies, all with shields, all in shield wall formation. I don't know if that's anything to do with the model. That's due to the composition of the armies, and maybe actually more weight towards men-at-arms would fix that. I'm not certain, but yeah, something that definitely I think Crusader Blade could do with tweaking for sure. And then you've got the should I talk about anything else on that? I think that's the basic premise, and then we've got siege battles as well, which is one of the more recent introductions. So there are plans for catapults and that sort of thing, and rams and stuff to be added, which there aren't at the minute. I guess the rams thing is a little bit more difficult, and that seems to work pretty well. You get to pick your siege modifier before you go in. three times seems to be 3 or 4 times seems to be a pretty good balance. Gives you a fighting chance, makes it a bit difficult for you to take it as well if you want to do the battle. And the defenders do spawn in with because the garrison's basically turned into crossbowmen, or at least it was on my game. And yeah, it's been pretty good, pretty interesting. I've won a couple of sieges. I've lost a big siege as well. But yeah, that one probably works a little bit better, I guess, because the format is a bit simpler, I suppose. Or the mechanics of it are a bit simpler. Sometimes the AI, once again, is a bit silly. It won't really go after the gates. It will try and go up the ladders. And then sometimes it'll only go up a few guys at a time. When it does work, though, or should I say, if they can get that working properly, that will be really good. I think that's really solid. But yeah, the actual battles themselves potentially need a little bit more tweaking. But in fairness, I am pretty much just astounded that it works. I'm sure that, yeah, I don't know. Having the idea in of itself would have been pretty revolutionary. But then to implement it sort of so relatively soon after Crusader Kings 3 came out as well for such a big mod. Talking of mods though, or compatible mods, it doesn't really tend to play nicely with any of the Bannerlord mods, so they're best to have them disabled really, which is probably the best way forward anyway. And the Crusader Kings mod shouldn't really have many effect. I don't know about the specific battle ones potentially, but in terms of anything else to do with your campaign or all that sort of stuff, it shouldn't really matter because it should take the troops and things from just the battle arrangement. Might be different if you've got like custom troops and stuff in there that are not part of the base game. Maybe then the mod doesn't know how to calculate that in the battle. I'm not certain. The other issue as well is the factions or the races, I guess. What do you call them? Are they races? The civilizations, I guess, in Bannerlord as well. They fluctuate. Your banners fluctuate. All that sort of stuff. So there's no tied down like racial kind of army composition. So sometimes you might play as the Azerai, sometimes you might play as the oh gosh, why can I not remember any of the cultures? It doesn't matter, but the Valandians, there we go, there's one. Yeah, but I believe you can custom modify that thing in the back end. I've heard, not played around with that myself, so I can't comment. And in the end, I sort of found myself not really doing the battles too much. I think because of the issue with having so many levies, it just sort of took it away. I only really sort of used it when it would strategically be of an advantage to me to fight the battle early. That's someone that's sort of like pretty good at Bannerlord as well. I have struggled a little bit with just how defensive the AI is when you are battling them. So it becomes a bit tough in a way. Basically, it's worth trying if you've got both games and if you particularly like both games. But just know that it's certainly not perfect at the minute. It's really good. It's like an incredible concept. The moment that I heard about it, I gave it a go. It obviously worked, and then decided to do the stream on it, which was pretty successful. But as I say, the last few episodes, there's probably only one battle, I would say, on that, and maybe only like 20 or so throughout the whole thing. But if you're happy with the Bannerlord aspect taking a bit of a sideline, which of course it may well do in Crusader Kings anyway, just by the very nature of that game, then it can be pretty cool, and maybe it might be worth waiting 6 months to see how it develops, because there's lots of scope for lots of bits to be improved on there. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't regret it at all. I enjoyed the campaign for what it was as well, and I think other than obviously the sieges needing to be tweaked, and the inclusion of siege weapons, I guess you'd call them, and then the army compositions. That sounds like quite a lot, but realistically, I'm still amazed the fact that it works at all. So I can't really say anything bad about it. Just know going in, there are limitations, and if you temper them well enough and take it for what it is, It's actually really good and really worth your time exploring. I know, especially with Bannerlord, especially with Crusader Kings, huge modding community. People, add mods to both of those games religiously. I didn't on Crusader Kings 3. I did in the end, actually, yeah, about halfway through. But Bannerlord is the one I've experimented the most with mods and really enjoyed that as well. So, yeah, just something worth noting. As I say, check the link in the description if you want to go and check it out, and let me know what you think of it. I'm sure I'm not alone in seeing how cool it is. Right, well, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all very soon. Bye for now.